As we said, my name is Armando Kirwin. I'm the co-founder of Artie, and I want to describe one possible future to you. So my background is actually in feature film, visual effects, and XR. I've been lucky to work on projects with all of the companies you see here. And about a year ago, my co-founder and I, we started bringing together some of the best people from AI and gaming into a stealth AR company. And we're really excited to share with you what we've been up to. So a lot of people ask about the name. Artie is short for artificial intelligence. And it also sounds like someone friendly that you would want to hang out with. Sorry, I think we're getting feedback. I'm not sure if these two mics are interacting well together, but I'm going to keep going. So our mission is to bring the world's most popular characters to life as AIs that exist in the real world. And I'll walk you through that. We believe that there will be a lot of these someday. And I hope that by the end of this talk, you'll believe the same. Let me quickly kind of walk you through how we're defining these AIs. So our AIs are conversational. They can see you, and they're also aware of the world. They can both see the world and take in data about the world. And finally, these AIs are embodied within a really expressive avatar, which is really crucial for the types of engagements that we're pursuing. We came out of stealth mode in the fall, so we're a relatively young company, and we've been busy working on about a half dozen characters, but we can't actually show them yet because they're all from large companies, and they will kind of come out when they're ready. So all I can say is that we're working with about a half dozen of the most famous superheroes and music artists and even brand ambassadors in the world. And we're really excited for you guys to experience the first one this fall, and we plan on launching more as the year goes on. We do have a kind of sample character that we're going to be sharing on social media soon, named Isaac. I think a little GIF here of some basic interactions and things like that. So Isaac is a test character that we can at least talk about that we'll be putting it on social media in the next few months so that people can start interacting with one of our AIs while we wait for these more famous AIs to roll out. So that's kind of enough background about what we're up to. Today I'm actually going to talk about something we call the avatar layer and walk you through this vision that we have and see if we can inspire you. So we kind of feel like it all started with consumers, right? So we have avatars for consumers. Kind of some of the more famous incarnations of that are Apple's Animoji, Snap's Bitmoji. We have Facemoji, which is integrated into TikTok. Lots and lots of other options. It's a very crowded space for startups to be in. Then came kind of these virtual characters that are manually operated. They became more and more popular lately, although they've been around for a while in Korea and China and Japan. But you might be familiar with Michaela or Kizuna over in Japan, who has a large audience, or Barbie, who's now speaking in the first term on in the first person on her YouTube channel, or even Lady Gaga, who had an avatar for her most recent Vegas show. It's really exciting to see all the momentum here and to see large groups of people interacting with these avatars, but there are some issues to kind of this manual approach. For the biggest one is that they're difficult to scale when you need to do like full motion capture setup just to make one video, or a full photo shoot with body doubles and in teams of people using Maya and Photoshop, et cetera, just to make one image. So there's a scaling issue with the approach that we're currently taking to these virtual characters despite their popularity with audiences. The second issue is that Instagram and YouTube capture all of the value that they create. It's very difficult for startups to make money on these platforms. You're competing with this massive amount of content on YouTube and Instagram. You're making like a few pennies here and there. So from a sustainable kind of business model practices, it's not ideal. And third, and this one is, I think, one of the most important, is these passive media like photos and videos only provide really low quality data back to the creators. So for example, on YouTube, say you share a video that was some avatar shares a video on YouTube like Kizuna, for example. We only kind of know, like the creators, we know how many people watched it, did they like it? Maybe they liked it but didn't hit the like button. Did they comment or not? Did only the haters comment? It's really low quality data. We don't really know anything about our audience per se. Like maybe I loved this video of Kizuna or Michaela and I sent it to you, or maybe I hated it and I sent it to you. Like the creators don't really know. They just know that the view count went up by 1. So the kind of information that you can get about your audience is really quite poor. And because of kind of the saturation of video and images on social media, engagement rates are super low. So you're competing with all the other video and image-based content out there. And the good example is Facebook. It continues to drop. So last year it hit an all-time low. The average view time on a Facebook video was 18 seconds, and most of that is without sound. So lots of problems to kind of tackle in this space. But what's great is how exciting it's becoming and how audiences are interacting. I think that we're now entering what we'll call this autonomous era, which will help solve some of these problems. I think a lot of you probably saw Google's Childish Gambino Playmoji, which was just very light on the interactivity side of things. It is autonomous, but it's mostly just like a dancing loop of a character. However, if you smile, he'll smile in selfie mode, etc. And then, of course, what we're doing is fully interactive, and we think that that's really where all of these things are going. Completely autonomous, fully interactive, AI-powered avatars. We have something called an instant avatar, which I'll get back to in a second. So when you combine AI and avatars together, you start to see solutions to a lot of the problems that I just walked you through. So they're autonomous, which means they can scale easily, they can be shared, there's no limit to the number of people they can interact with, and that's something that is incredibly helpful if you're a brand or a creator or a customer who wants to reach large audiences without these limitations. Finally, by using AR, and that's something that it isn't mandatory per se to interact with an AI-powered avatar, but it is kind of a realism feature. You're no longer stuck on YouTube and Instagram, and you can suddenly open up all sorts of new ways to monetize. For example, you could sell virtual goods, you could process transactions. Lots and lots of ways to monetize when you're freed from the confines of these large platforms, which basically limit everything that you can do, right? So YouTube only allows you to make money in very specific ways. Same with Instagram. And finally, and this is particularly exciting to us, we can capture these never before possible insights about audiences. So when you interact with one of our instant avatars, we actually know if you're looking or not at the avatar, right? We know everywhere you look, we know everything you say. This is all captured anonymously on device. We know if the person interacting with the avatar was smiling or if they were bored. If you're standing, we know basic information about the objects in the room, the environment, and we plan on adding lots of insights as we go. And we feel like it's going to really open up kind of the ability for our customers to learn about their audiences in ways that haven't been possible before. So lastly, if you kind of combine all of these things, we think that what the primary benefit at the end of the day will be is a new hyper-engaging form of content, essentially, relative to images or video, where if you're a customer who has a character that you want people to interact with, you can get them to spend, hopefully, 3 to 5 minutes interacting with the character instead of a few seconds interacting with a video of that character, or a few milliseconds interacting with a photo of that character. Our thesis right now, which we're planning to prove out in the fall, is that they will be, at least 3 to 10x more engaging than these traditional forms of content. So if you were in Amsterdam, I see like Joanna and a few people who actually went over this slide before at a different talk, but I like to share a little bit of early data. This is something from the Institute of Neuroscience in Newcastle, and they were studying, how do you change consumer behavior? How do you get them to, and in this case, they're actually studying how do you get someone to leave a tip? Like if you're in a coffee shop, there's a tip jar, how do you compel consumers to like throw money in that tip jar? And there was something that in the study that was extremely relevant to avatars that I wanted to share with you guys today. But essentially, they had a tip jar that was decorated with this abstract pattern of stars, right? And then they swapped it out with this tip jar. This is actually a picture from the study that just had eyes glued to it. This is the only difference, and tipping went up 48%. And that's insane. Imagine if you could make one simple change that increased, your revenue 48%. Really what this is about is like we're human beings. We like body language, we like eye contact, we like things that smile at us. So through the avatar, and a really expressive avatar, we expect engagement and sales conversions and transactions and other things to increase exponentially. And I think it's really fascinating to let your mind wander a little bit and imagine if putting eyes on a jar has such an increase, what happens when your favorite character from a movie or of a TV show or a book can actually interact with you? Like how high is that engagement rate going to go? How high is the conversion rate going to go? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the technology that we're using. We have 3 patents pending in this space, and I had to kind of abstract that into this more generic form here today. But essentially, we have a multimodal AI platform, which means we take in a lot of different kinds of input and we combine them to get a better result. The way we're building our system is that it's easy to kind of customize it for different characters as we go. So if we add, if we do a character today and we want to kind of add another character later, we don't have to reinvent the entire AI each time. I won't spend a lot of time about this on this slide, but on the input side, we have automatic speech recognition. You've probably experienced this if you've spoken to a smart speaker or your phone or whatever. Facial expression recognition, and this world awareness and user awareness stuff that I talked about, which is computer vision. And again, we're doing all of this completely anonymously, and we don't currently support any form of targeting of users or deal in ads, so we don't have a need for kind of remembering specific individuals. Anyway, we combine these inputs with some internal models, right? So natural language understanding, which helps us understand that stream of text coming from the user. A knowledge base. So the virtual character in question, say it's a superhero like Superman needs to know Superman stuff, right, to be a believable AI. He has to have a Superman's personality and he has to have a memory. And finally, we have the output side, which is when you're generating language, encoding that into speech that sounds like the Superman character should, and driving a procedurally generated avatar rig. So everything that we have today is currently in various states of completion, and the pipeline is complete. Things like ASR, which have been around for a lot longer, are further advanced than things like the personality side of the internal model. But we're really excited to have the first kind of full stack AI system and put these avatars into the wild in the fall, like I mentioned. So what's also exciting is that we're using the data that we get from users, not only to share insights with our customers, but to further train and improve the AI that underlies all of the avatars in our network. So we have kind of this continuous improvement loop. It's a supervised machine learning approach in the sense that we don't allow the AI to learn on the fly from the audience, and there have been some missteps from larger companies, like when Microsoft famously released a bot that became racist on Twitter. So we're able to capture large amounts of proprietary data at scale, but we then take that, do some supervised machine learning, and then redeploy it back to the network, make sure that we're not following some of these mistakes that others have made. And finally, on the sharing side of things from a technology perspective, we are really excited about instant avatars. We can do native integration into an app, which is a common approach. But we've also been really hard at work on avatars that can be shared as standard hyperlinks, right? So just a link that you can post anywhere, just like when you embed a YouTube video somewhere, like you can text someone, you can put it on Twitter or Facebook, doesn't matter. Anywhere you can put a link. So the idea being, if you're, a customer with a, like, say, Superman character, you don't want to create a lot of friction by having people download a special Superman app just to interact with him. We want to remove as much friction as possible and have people interacting with avatars all of the time, everywhere they are currently, and that's why we focus on mobile AR, and we focus a lot on the hyperlink approach to sharing. I mentioned insights. This is the alpha version of our actual functional dashboard right now. But we capture all of these anonymous insights I mentioned, and we share them back with the customer that we're partnering with. So they can actually see what their audience is saying, see, are people looking at the avatar? How long are they looking at it? When are they looking at it? How often are they speaking at it? What are they saying? Did they buy something? Did they have any sort of preferences? And we're even doing some emotional IQ and sentiment analysis type work where we can say, oh, like, it turns out that your audience feels very strongly about this particular topic, and our customers can use that to make more informed business decisions. Keep in mind, like, if you've only been interacting with your audience through video and photo, like, and suddenly you can do all of this stuff, we think that you'll be pretty excited. So, we're really excited at Artie. We're trying to enable these real-time, personal engagement kind of sessions between consumers and the content that they love. And our goal this year is reasonable. We're actually, so the founder of YouTube and original CEO of YouTube was our first investor, and we're copying a lot of kind of from his playbook, but right now we're trying to get people to interact with an AI-powered avatar for 3 to 5 minutes once a week. It's kind of like YouTubers back in the day. They would take them a week to make a new video, they would release it, and their fans would be like dying to have it, and then they would all talk about it, and then they'd have to wait for the next video. Over time, obviously, if you just kind of think about where this technology could go, we hope to dramatically increase the session time and the frequency with which you'll interact with an AI. We're also really excited about these avatars kind of going out into the real world where we can open up other use cases, right? So if you're interacting with your favorite character in your house for entertainment purposes, why can't you also interact with it when you're shopping? Or when you're on location somewhere, maybe that character should know like how to direct you to where the bathrooms are, or help you find products, or whatever those use cases might be. And this is kind of like the core premise of our company. It's like we believe that popular characters will ultimately own the consumer relationship, and thus they will become the gateway to many use cases. So it could be anything from search to entertainment, data and insights. This is a popular slide. There's a lot of photos being taken of this slide. Purchases, and ultimately they kind of become the front end for an app. My co-founder Ryan is in the audience, and he loves to give this example. Like, when you go to Disneyland, why shouldn't Mickey Mouse show you around? Why shouldn't Mickey Mouse, tell you where to buy lunch and where to buy gifts and how to find things? Why does it need to be this like swiping around on this app in the same form factor that we've had for 10 years when we can do stuff like this, thanks to the power of AI? So, our company DNA is about bringing these types of popular characters to life. In our past, in our past companies, we've worked already with a lot of well-known IP and famous people like Eminem and Drake, Muse, U2, Bjork, Obama, Jurassic Park. So kind of a long list. I'll skip some of them. Star Trek, Marvel, and like the point is, would a consumer rather hang out with their favorite superhero or Alexa? Right now, they might just think, oh, Alexa's everything, but like, I'm sure Marvel would rather they weren't hanging out with Alexa. I'm sure Target would rather they weren't hanging out with Alexa. So we actually feel like the world is still pretty wide open, and that the character kind of layers is where it's at. So just kind of like a summary of everything that I just threw at you. We think that these avatars will have higher engagement and conversion rates than traditional media. We think that they will capture newer, much more valuable data anonymously. And we think that they will become the computing layer that is closest to the consumer, and that is incredibly valuable. So because of those things, we believe that anyone with an audience is going to become motivated to create their own. And that's where we come in as the platform. So that could be content creators that you already are thinking of. It could be brands, could be celebrities, could be music artists, athletes. I think you get the picture. So, how many will there be? This is, to me, the fascinating question. Right now, you might interact with 3 AIs, but will there be 10? Will there be 100? Will there be thousands? Will there be millions? It's possible that there will be one for every human someday. Just gonna throw that one out there. Regardless, we believe there will be a lot, and so we call it the avatar layer, and this is kind of a long definition of that, but essentially it's this hyper-engaging, deeply insightful, real-time, persistent global layer of avatars, right? And they're all powered by AI, they're all in the real world. And this is the future that we're building at Artie. It's my email, we're hiring. So that's actually my whole talk. I prefer to do more Q&A, so I thought I'd do a quicker kind of talk and see if anyone had any questions.